Ramona and Dorinda won't take any accountability for anything. If Scott's dumb enough to loan John money, is he dumb enough to loan me money? And I forgot that Elise wasn't at the reunion. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Real Housewives of New York Reunion Part 1. Wow, I thought it was really good and I'm super excited to get into it with you guys. So let's start off talking about their looks. What did you think of everybody's looks? Who did you think was best dressed? Who did you think was the worst? So I love my girl Leah. I really do. I think she's fantastic. I hate this look. I mean, she pulls it off, but I just don't love this look at all. I don't get it. What did you guys think about it? I don't like Tinsley's look. I thought it was just too princessy. It just overwhelmed her small frame. But I thought everybody else looked fantastic. The necklaces, I didn't understand the necklaces. She had on like 30 of them. Did you notice that? It was too much. Thought Sonja just was the standout. That work she had done, she looks amazing. I love her hair like this. I think she really looks fantastic. I didn't love the huge jeweled collar, but still, I thought she looks fantastic. I think Lou always looks fantastic. You know, Dorinda, it's hard because she's so angry and annoying at this reunion, but I thought she looked pretty. I don't love the dress, but it's okay. And Ramona, I guess her face looks great. That sounds mean, but that hair, it's just too obviously extensions. So I don't love that hair on her. I thought the dress was honestly a little boring. So I thought it just needed a little something to take it from boring, but I didn't think she looked bad. Who was your favorite? Who was your least favorite? Let me know down below. It's a great reunion. I thought it was a great first part. Andy touched on a lot of stuff, and I'm very curious to see where they'll go next. I'm very frustrated because Dorinda and Ramona, they just deflect and won't cop to anything. They're like the same person, and they just don't see it. I love Leah. I think she did fantastic. She's always well-spoken. I love Sonja. I thought she handled herself well this reunion. We didn't see much out of Lou, but I'm sure we will in the next part. So we get into the reunion here. It kicks off. Andy asks, how is quarantine affecting most of you? Leah says that she was in Long Island for the first 5 weeks of quarantine, but she's now back in the city. Ramona, they say your locale garnered the most attention in Florida. She was hunkered down with Mario and Avery. Sonja was trapped in a spa in Palm Springs. She said she did colonics and green juice for 3 weeks, which I'm thinking that doesn't sound so bad. He asks Lou how she's holding up without working on her cabaret. And of course, she's like, I'm always working on my cabaret. She talks about the project she's working on, including writing a book. Then Andy says, Leah, you said the following on Instagram, that you're so disgusted by your castmate in Florida living it up, and then back in New York and back out like nothing, not taking this shit seriously. And that is so despicable and so de class A. And Ramona says, obviously, she's talking about me, and I took total precautions. Leah says, you're lying right now. Total lack of awareness. It's your lack of empathy about the people suffering and dying. Ramona says, I would wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and read the horrific news, and then I would live my day to the best. And I call bullshit on that. I think Ramona lives in her own little world. She doesn't care about any of that. Obviously, she's going to rallies and going out to dinner and not wearing a mask. I really was over Ramona. I mean, I've been over Ramona for seasons now, but this reunion just shows everything I've been talking about with her. She's obnoxious. She makes it all about herself and doesn't give a crap about anybody else. And that whole clapping while she's talking, I don't wear a mask at the beach. I mean, seriously, that's just obnoxious. Leah says you lied about donating your blood. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Ramona's like, no, get your facts straight. In February, I had a sinus infection, blah, blah, blah. So, she apparently tested positive for antibodies. The doctor figured out she had sinus infection and Lyme disease and COVID. Again, I call bullshit on all that. Sonja says, you're a walking petri dish, which I love. I thought Sonja was really great in this reunion. Ramona says, I'm allowed to come back, bitch. Wow. And then Andy says, Dorinda, you were upset by Ramona when she went to the Trump Jr. hosted party. Dorinda says, you aren't supposed to be in places that gather. Ramona says, I don't have the virus. Hello, idiot. You had the virus, and you can catch it again, it sounds like, and you're a spreader. So Leah says, God knows how many people you gave it to. They just go back and forth. It's ridiculous. Ramona has no awareness of her actions. She just lives her own little bubble and just flaunts it. That's the crazy part too, posting those pictures online. I mean, it's just idiotic. She's such an idiot. I just don't understand why she's still on the show. Andy says, can I make just one more comment? And Ramona says, no, put this to bed. Next, Andy says, I'm going to make one more comment. Andy, get rid of Ramona. I don't understand this at all. Andy says, I'm saying what you're putting out there on social media is not compliant. Ramona says, bullshit, lies. And then they show a picture of her without her mask, hanging out with her friend, going to dinner. Then we have a montage of Leah, and Andy says, we received so much feedback about what a great addition she's been. And I totally agree. I've been such a Leah fan from the beginning. I think she's fantastic. I love her on the show. I hope we see many more seasons of her. I think she's great. Andy asked her, what's changed the most for you? And Leah reveals she stopped drinking. I say good for her. Obviously, it's not something she handles well, so I think it's fantastic that she was able just to stop again. You know, I really felt for Tinsley at this reunion. So I go hot and cold with Tinsley, but I felt for her because she seems like she's really happy. This is exactly what she wanted, and I feel like this should have been her time to shine, but the cast was awful to her, namely Dorinda. I mean, some of the other ladies started out not great, but then they turned around. But Dorinda was awful to her, and that's just a shitty way to leave. It really is, and I think Dorinda's a monster. I really do. Oh, we'll get into it, but she deflects so much. It was so infuriating to watch her at this reunion. I hoped that she would learn a little bit about her actions and watching herself back, but no, nothing, not changing a thing. You can see it because anytime it's brought up, she just immediately deflects it. Her and Ramona have a gift for that. Yeah, when did you start drinking again? Was it on the show? And she says, no, it was the spring right before the show. Did you worry about coming in and about drinking and about being filmed? And she says, you guys met me while drinking. The whole decade before, I didn't have a drop of alcohol. So it sounds like she had taken it up before she even found out about the show. The ladies this season have been tough to watch with the drinking. Does anyone wish they had done more to address the sloppy behavior? And Leah, of course, says she thinks she did address her behavior. And it sounds like most of them acknowledge that there's an issue with the exception of Dorinda. Dorinda, have you seen anything that makes you want to alter your behavior? And here we go. So he brings it up and she starts deflecting. She's blaming Ramona, which, believe me, I can't stand Ramona, but it's not Ramona's fault that you're drinking. And this was pretty funny though. He says, I'm not like Ramona out drinking every night. Ramona says, I drink water. Why do you think I'm thin? I drink water. And Dorinda says, you're not that thin, but okay. Woo, shots fired. I can't believe she said that. Actually, I can, but that's pretty funny. Woo, you can tell Ramona was pissed. Leah talks about Ramona making her feel terrible in Rhode Island. Dorinda says, Ramona does everything to deflect. She's a whore. I'm a drunk. Ramona says, Dorinda, you've gone too far with your lies. I never said anything like that. You're disgusting. Oh my gosh, go to church. And again, I find it funny because they're both doing the same thing. They're both deflecting. Then they asked Luann if that was her first sip of vodka, the one we saw at the club since her probation. She says, yeah, I felt like I was in control. I felt good and hit the reset button. He asked how she would describe her relationship with alcohol. She says she stopped drinking again. She had to reel herself in. So that's interesting. My first thought is I wonder if that's true. I hope it is. That's good. Then Andy says the best part. Dorinda, no one gets as mean as you do when you're confronted about alcohol use. Why are you so defensive? And here we go again with the deflecting. So she's trying to blame Ramona. Ramona says you're petrified whenever anyone calls you a drunk. And I gotta say, Ramona's spot on here. Dorinda says she feels sorry for Ramona. Ramona says she feels sorry for Dorinda. And I don't know that I feel sorry for them. I'm just annoyed with them both. Dorinda says, I'm very sensitive about that because I find it to be accusatory. I try not to point out Ramona drinking and sleeping with all kinds of people. Woo! Again, shots fired at Ramona. But I mean, she's a hypocrite. She does. She loves to call out and be accusatory. Case in point, every time she talks about Lou getting a mugshot and being in probation, Ramona's saying, see, she can't answer the question. Lou's saying, Dorinda doesn't like to be told she's had too much to drink. Dorinda says, Ramona does it to harm people's reputations. She says she's for women. She's not. Andy says, I want to talk about you. I feel like you're deflecting every time I ask you this question. Ramona says, answer the question. Dorinda says, I just feel uncomfortable about it. Andy says, when you watch it back, does it make you question your relationship with alcohol? Dorinda says, yes, of course it does. We all question our relationship with alcohol. So again, she won't answer the question directly. She twists it like they all have a problem, which maybe they do, but they're not talking about that right now. They're just trying to pin her down, and she won't take any responsibility, which means she won't change. Then it goes over to Tinsley. They talk about how ironic that she had to leave the Housewives show to become a housewife. She says she's very fortunate and blessed. Tinsley, how do you feel watching the season back and seeing what people were saying and who was supportive and who wasn't? Tinsley says Leah was, and later Lou and Ramona became supportive once they came out of Dorinda's spell. Lou says, you guys broke up so many times we were skeptical. Tinsley says, Sonja, I couldn't talk to you about babies because you said this again, which I find ironic because Sonja is a broken record, as we know, loving to talk about herself and her life. So it's kind of crappy that she wouldn't let Tinsley do the same thing. Brenda had no qualm of sharing her disdain for Tinsley, not sharing her life. It's brought up that they hadn't spoken since Tinsley left. That's not really a shocker. I'm proud of Tinsley. She stood up for herself. Sometimes she kind of was whiny and let people run over her, but she stood up for herself. So, Dorinda, what's your issue with Tinsley? You talked about your charmed life as a wife living down the road from Princess Diana in Kensington, but you mocked Tinsley for wanting to be a wife in Chicago. How is her situation any different? Tinsley says, after we broke up, we got into a horrific fight, not on camera, because Scott gave John money. What? Am I the only one that didn't know this? I had no idea. Why didn't they show that? I need to know every detail. Why did Scott give John money? Was it like a business investment? Was it a loan? What are we talking about here? But we get to see this unseen footage of Dorinda freaking out on John. And I'm shocked by this. Did I miss this? Did you guys know this? What the heck? If Scott's dumb enough to loan John money, is he dumb enough to loan me money? What is he doing? I don't understand. Is he investing in Madame Paulette? What's happening? Dorinda says, I know he did it commercially. I don't know what that means. I guess investing in the business? Tinsley says, the betrayal you felt toward John, you took out on me. The producers didn't want me to stay in the house that night because you were going so crazy and they worried about my safety. Ooh, I need to see more of that too. What the heck is happening? So she's pissed at John. I'm guessing John didn't tell her about the loan or the money or the gift or whatever it was. She found out about it and lost her mind, which I would too. That's pretty shitty. But my God, so that explains part of the reason she's had such a hatred toward Tinsley. But I also just feel like it's jealousy. Tinsley's getting the fairy tale she's always wanted, and Dorinda doesn't have that. And so instead of being happy for her friend, she's a monster. And I think the drinking just amplifies it. Andy says, is it because he gave John money? Is that why you're mad? And Dorinda's saying, I don't get involved in John's finances. I don't know. That's got to be why they broke up, right? I mean, they were together for years. And I mean, that's pretty shitty to find out secondhand about that. But that just screams so weird to me. That's so strange. I need way more information about this. How much did he loan him or give him? Tinsley says, I've done nothing to make you hate me like this. Your jealousy and your obsession. Girl, I'm engaged, I'm getting married, and she's obsessed with it. And I think that's great. Again, good for Tinsley for speaking up. And that's how the episode ends. So we see a flash of next week. It sounds like it's going to be another wild ride. Ramona's bringing up Leah with the bipolar issues. Again, it's so despicable for her to announce that to everybody. Ramona throwing texts at Dorinda. Apparently she had them printed out and she's throwing them back at Dorinda. And Dorinda's just being nasty. I mean, we see it here in the reunion as well. She didn't learn a thing. She's just continuing with her nasty ways. So that was it. I thought it was a great reunion. I'm sure to watch my other shows. I'm covering Potomac and Beverly Hills. Thank God that's going away. Hey, I need your opinion. OC is coming up in a couple weeks and I'm on the fence. I actually have dipped out of it the last couple of years and I will be glad to dip back in if that's something y'all want to talk about, but I need to know. Are you guys into that? Are you watching it? Do you want to talk about it? Do we want to skip it? What are your thoughts? So let me know. I am about to pick up Ladies of London. I'm so excited about that. So be watching that. And I have a brand new teaser trailer for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And if you haven't watched that, go over and watch that because these women are like wild. So be sure to check that out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single comment. I read them all. I love them. And I thank you for everything. You can find me on here. You can find me on Twitter at Real Recaps. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.